Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So, as we move along to week 3, even though you're going to see this video in week 1, week 2, and week 3, I wanted to make sure that you know that these are links to my labs. Now, my screen looks a little bit different than yours, but I'm just going to preview this assignment. And this is just an orientation for you in my labs. So, you're just going to click on the questions. And then you're just going to go through this orientation. This is just a bonus grade. So go through all of the questions. There's only 9 questions. But what I love about my labs is the help me solve this feature and the view an example feature. So if you click on help me solve this, then it'll step you through each part of your problem. You can read through that, or you can view an example. Okay, you can also step through that. And the examples are very close to the actual problem that you're doing, whatever it is, okay? And then you want to get started on your homeworks. In the first week, you have homework 1 and you have the ability to start homework 2, okay? So make sure that you start them as soon as possible. Remember, you have access to your textbook, but I'm going to go for this one. We're going to do some problems from chapter 3. Okay, so write the word name for the decimal. So you see here, it says 0.483. Okay, so this 3 is in the thousandths place. So when you're on the other side of the decimal, we read ones, tens, hundreds. But on the other side of the decimal, we go in the other direction and we don't have a ones. So there's not like a once. So it's tenth, hundredth, thousandth. Okay. So this would be 483,000th. Okay. And then it's wonderful. You get to check your answer. Okay. Now, if you had a problem with understanding that, you could also view an example. So you just step through and learn the material. Now, I recommend that you read your book before you get here. There's examples in your book as well. So let's move on to. So here it says, write the number that represents the decimal 216 thousandths. So 0.216. Okay. Let's move on to. The other thing I want you to notice is that the question, so this is question 3, and what this means up here is chapter 3, section 1, question number 7. Okay. So it says here, round to the nearest tenth. That is going to be 16.0. Moving right along. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to show you help me solve this. All right, so it says to find the cost of 1,000 gallons of gasoline, we are going to multiply 2.38 to 1,000. It says, what is the first step in multiplying a decimal number by a place value number such as 1,000? Choose the correct answer. So you're going to determine the number of zeros in the multiplier. And then the number of zeros in the multiplier is 3. What should be the next step? So place a decimal point in the product. Count the number of digits in the decimal place. Move the decimal in the multiplicand So I think it's C. So now move the decimal and the multiplicand to the right, the same number of places. So we have, so I'm going to move the decimal place to past the 3, past the 8, and then one more 0. So 23, 0. Move the decimal place 3 places. Insert 0. Now, so you finish this problem. So help me solve this, I think, is a better learning tool than view an example. But you can switch it up. You can go back and forth, okay? So if you look here, this is the question up here is the question that you started with. But when you use help me solve this, it's going to change, okay? But it's very close to the same kind of problem. So it's going to mark you wrong until you do this one. And so 2340 would be, so it just matches it, right? It's exactly the same. Let's look at the very last question, and then we'll include the textbook. Okay. So, okay. And it says how to. This is what I love about this text. Always have loved my math books. Okay. Move this a little bit over. So write the numerator as the dividend and the denominator as the divisor. So all fractions are like division problems. And then divide the numerator by the denominator. Carry the division as many decimal places as necessary or desired. Now, I'm not going to read all of those to you, but I do encourage you to have a nice notebook and practice. Okay. So what was our fraction? It was 3 out of 8. Quit taking. So we need to multiply the fraction to the number of people. Okay, so I had to make an adjustment and use a question similar to the one in my lab. So, it's randomized anyway. But we're going to use this problem, and then that way I can show you the steps. So the first part of this question that you want to answer, a hospital study of 1,209 heart attack patients found that 5 out of 8 quit taking their life-saving drugs prescribed to them. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you answer the question, part A, what fraction stopped taking their meds? So when it says 5 out of 8, that just means 5 over 8, okay? And then part B, it says convert this fraction to a decimal. So you can, part B, you can divide. Okay, so you take your denominator, and then because 8 does not really go into 5, we can just start with the 0 and the decimal, and then we get 0. We end up with 5. And then 8 goes into 50, right? Don't forget your decimal right there. 8 goes into 50 6 times. And so 6 times 8 is, 0.6 times 8 is 4.8. We get, let's borrow. So we get 0.2. We add another 0. 8 into 20 is 2 times. 2 times 8 would be, or should I say 0.02 times 8 would be 0.16. And then we subtract, we got to borrow again. So we get 0.04. And then we add, and 8 goes into 40, or should we say 0.04. And you can use a calculator to help you. So 0.04 divided by 8 is going to give you 0.005. And you already have your spots. And then we multiply it back. So we get 0.04. And we get 0.000. Okay. And then part C, it says how many patients in the study quit taking their medication. So what you end up doing is you multiply the 5/8 times the 1,209 patients. So you can put that over 1, and you get, so 1,209 times 5 is 6,045 divided by 8, and then you can do that by hand, or you can do it by hand and verify with the calculator. So 8 into 60 goes 7 times. So 7 times 8 is 56. And if I do this perfectly, we borrow. So 44. This would be 5. 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract, get 45. And then 8 into 45 again is 5. 5 times 8 is 40. So you have a remainder of 5, which makes sense. So 755 and 5/8 would be your answer. So 755 and 5/8 of patients are the ones who stop taking their medication. So what I want you to remember is to use your resources. So remember, if, for instance, you want to work on decimals and fraction conversions, you can click on a video, find it, and you have some videos that you can take some notes from. So I'll just play, and you can also speed this up if you like. So you have some options here. You can change the language, I believe. We have several. We have several languages here.
Change 0.42 to a fraction in lowest terms.
So I don't need to play that for you. Please use those resources. They are very helpful. The more writing you do, the better. And as always, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can leave me a comment. And I'll see you next time.